Hello everyone and welcome to the UkeStuff channel. Today I have the pleasure of reviewing the Cocobolo concert ukulele. Now if you don't know about Cocobolo, they are a small family-run business in Nicaragua and they make ukuleles out of the Cocobolo wood. It's a beautiful wood. It's hard to get in the light here, but it has beautiful grain patterns, often a bright red color in the sunlight, and just wonderful, wonderful looking ukuleles. And I wasn't sure what it was going to be like to actually play one. I actually had a friend that bought one and actually sold it to her dad because she didn't fall in love with it. But so far, I'm massively impressed by this. I think it's quite wonderful. We'll talk some more about specifics in just a moment of the instrument, and we'll go from there. So in these reviews, what I do is under the guise of something called the Uke Guide, was my idea not too long ago of kind of reviewing ukuleles in a different way, because there are a lot of people reviewing ukuleles, but kind of doing it sort of like the appliance ratings that you get when you buy a new appliance, and thinking of it the same way and actually making a sheet. And actually, if you go to ukeguide.info, you can actually see my whole list of those and you can download them and look at them. Kind of another way to summarize looking at an ukulele. So the other thing I do is I separate the subjective aspects of an instrument from the objective aspects of the instrument so that you can keep those separate as well. Because the facts are the facts, but there's a lot of things when you're talking about an ukulele review that are rather subjective. So let's get into the instrument. Some subjective issues. First of all is the cost. This one was a bargain basement one. It was considered a factory second because the finish is darker. I think they would have liked it all to be that lighter color than the darker patches on the front and on the back. That doesn't bother me at all, but some people might be bothered by that. So it was sold for $100 off the normal price. Usually these start at $4.99. There are ones with more intricate, almost sort of a rosette around. In fact, it is a rosette around the sound hole that go up to $5.49 for a concert, and then the prices go up a little more for a tenor and are a little bit lower for a soprano. But this one is a factory second, was $3.99, which is why I bid on it. Now that's the other side of this, and we'll get to the bidding in a second. But that $3.99 really isn't the price, because it, first of all, if you buy one, you need to buy a case for it because they won't ship it, just as the instrument, too many problems in the past. So if you buy one, you automatically have to either add a sort of a soft hard gig bag or an actual hard case for your instrument. So that adds another $50 or more to the price of the instrument. And then shipping was almost another $70 with DHL, although they do have an option that's a little bit less expensive than that. I will say, however, the instrument shipped on Monday and arrived to me on Wednesday. So what you're paying there for to get an instrument from one country to another, it probably is worth it, for that price. But just so you know, I personally wish that the price included shipping and the case and the instrument as a whole package, rather than really the deceptive lower price. And they're not fooling anybody with that. But since you're gonna have to pay those things anyway, I would personally rather see that rolled into the price. But that's just me. So just so you know, you're looking at, for this one, a factory second, $517. And I would imagine then if you bought one of these at the regular price, it'd be $600. So that's something to keep in mind. That is not inexpensive. But when it comes to value, there are a ton of features on this instrument. So you get grower tuners. You get this really cool plate on the back as well as the front. A lot of instruments don't do a plate back there. They do a plate in the front. You get the kind of neat stripe as well. So you've got book matching going on the top there. You get a fretboard that's also made of Cocobolo. You get really neat front position markers. There are side position markers, as you can see right there. The neck has a stripe of Cocobolo running up it, sort of acting not only decoratively, but also, I've been told, as a truss rod. It did not come with strap buttons. You can buy those as an extra. You can buy a pickup as an extra. They offer snake button strap buttons, but because I had the Grover tuners on there, I wanted to match it to the silver buttons. That's just what I do. Really beautiful back, slight bit of arch in the back. And let's see, what are some other features here? Oh, radius fretboard. So there's a slight curve for your fingers there. And let's see, there was something else that I wanted to add. Oh, it's pointing at me right there. The side sound port as well comes standard. And if you want to, they can make it a dog print or a cat print if you need it that way. So it comes with a ton of options. And if you can see, it's really hard to see, Worth Brown strings, which I generally don't use. I've got on one other ukulele, which is my spruce-topped Kohalua Opio ukulele, and that spruce is really vibrant. So if you put fluorocarbons on there, you might shatter glass. So with the brown fluorocarbon strings, they often mellow an instrument out. Kind of interesting choice here, but it works, and we'll talk about that in a while. So I think for what you're getting, that 6 foot, kind of a luthier built. This is not a factory built. They don't make a million of these at one time. I think you're getting your value out of it. I don't think it's exceeding the value. I don't think it's below the value. I think they're getting the price. And in fact, this one as a factory second was actually a better value than the price. But remember that you have to roll in shipping. You have to roll in the case extra for that. Build quality is impeccable. I mean, it's wonderful. I have found only one flaw, and it is super picky. And the only reason I noticed it is because I put on the strap button. And when I put on strap buttons, I measure. If you notice, this little line that separates the two parts of the body, this little piece of binding or whatever you want to think of that, another piece of Cocobolo there, this line is straight. This one's at a slight angle. But for a hand-crafted luthier sort of built instrument, that doesn't bother me, but that's the only flaw that I see in it other than it's wood. And again, the stain there doesn't bother me. But it was enough to bother them that they wanted to offer as a factory second. The other thing that the instrument does come with is some maracas. That was actually kind of a fun surprise. One of them says Cocobolo ukuleles, the other one says Nicaragua. So that was just kind of a fun add-on. When I first got the case and it was rattling, I didn't know what to think. Well, turns out it was maracas. Now, also in terms of construction, I made a short video with a brand new inspection camera that I bought. It's only 2 megapixels, so deal with the quality image, I guess. But you can see inside the Cocobolo instrument here. All right, let's take a look at what it looks like on the inside of the Cocobolo here. All right, so if I stabilize, you can see the kerfing that's used throughout. And you can see the tail block where I screwed in the end pin right there. You can see a little bit of glue mess way down there that you'd never see otherwise. You can see up here, I'm going to bend this up a little bit so I can get an upward shot. You can see how the bridge is supported. And it looks like there's even a piece of wood that supports the two pieces on the top. And there's the support up there. Now let's see if I come around this side, what we see here. I have to come another way. There's the piece that's right underneath the neck of the ukulele. And there's the top support there. So that's what it looks like on the inside of a Cocobolo. All right. Appearance, well, we've already talked about all the features that this has. But if you take a look, you notice it's very plain. There's no binding. There's no purfling. Actually, there is one little piece of binding right there at the top. But there is this extra stripe put in the side. But generally, it's not over adorned. It's really quite plain. And the wood itself does the talking and is a selling point for this instrument. Now, in terms of availability, here's where the issue is. They only make a small number of these at one time. I think it's about 6 of them come up every 2 weeks or so, sometimes a little more frequently, sometimes less. You never know what sizes are going to come up, so it might be a soprano, might be a super soprano, might be a concert, might be a baritone, might be a tenor. And each one is treated separately and on their website, and you can sign up for this. Also get it on their email list. Every couple of weeks, they send an announcement saying these are the instruments we have to offer right now, and you get a picture of what they look like. Now, also in full disclosure, they take a picture of these things in the Nicaraguan sun, so every ounce of redness comes out. So, I mean, you can see some of that redness right now, but in reality, in much of the light, it's a darker look. It's more brown than red in a lot of light conditions. So it wouldn't be uncommon for somebody to buy it and get it in their house and be like, what, that isn't red like I thought it was. Well, that's why. It really reflects the pigment of the sun's rays really well. I have heard that possibly they do fade over time, but even if that's true, that doesn't bother me. A chocolatey brown doesn't bother me as either. But just be aware that the red may fade. The red may fade. And also, depending on what light you look at, it changes that. So anyway, you get these pictures. You can decide which ones you want. And then what you do is you put your name in, and they do a drawing. They do a lottery. Not to win it, but to get the opportunity to buy it. So in the context of availability, these aren't really truly readily available. You can find them used every now and then, but realistically, it's sort of a waiting game and then some luck. Now, what has happened, however, is that a person will back out. They'll say, I'd like one, I'd like to buy that, put my name in, and when it comes time to buy it, they'll say, I can't do it. So then they have been known at Cocobolo to make that instrument immediately available for purchase, and that also comes out as an email. So there are some ways to get it, but it's not like a flight or a Cala that if you want, you can get on the phone, call your local dealer and say, hey, I want one of those. There's a different process of getting it. Now, in terms of playability, there are a lot of things I want to say here. First of all, I don't know what this finish is. I have no other ukulele that feels like it, but it feels wonderful in the hand. I'm not sure what the finish is. It's just really super comfortable to hold. Additionally, we'll talk more about this later, it has a little bit longer scale length than a lot of concerts. It has a slightly wider nut than a lot of concerts, and massive, for a concert, string spacing on the neck. Also, a neck that's comfortable, a little bit of a C shape, but a little more shallow and a little bit thinner. So what you get is a wider, thinner neck that's really comfortable with that same finish. It really makes it super playable. So, and of course, you have a very slight radius. So it's not a massive radius, but it's enough that it makes doing some things like bar chords with your finger just that much easier. So really, they've really nailed that idea of what the dimensions are for an ukulele. And quite honestly, other brands would do well to mimic the dimensions of this instrument. It would not hurt them at all. Now, obviously, don't make a Cocobolo instrument, but kind of using this as their guide would be really, I think, successful for concert players everywhere. So in terms of sound quality, here are the thoughts that immediately come to mind. It's balanced. There's no part that comes screaming at you as you play it. All the strings can be heard and speak freely. That includes the lowest and the highest. It's a rich tone. While there are overtones and while there is sustain, the sustain is throughout, and it's just this core tone. And then in terms of overtones, as you hear sustain, I hear this G up here most clearly in my own hearing. But it doesn't come popping out at you like some of my other ukuleles. In fact, some of my other very good ukuleles. So this whole idea of balance and sound is really good, which makes this instrument a joy to play, and it also makes it really good for recording. It really does. In terms of volume, it's good volume. It's not a complete screamer like a Ko Aloha. Those are so loud and so punchy. But it's certainly not soft. I mean, you can play it soft, but it has confidence in its sound. It has strength. And in terms of tone, it's not dark and it's not bright. So a lot of times when you have an instrument like that, it's kind of boxy and it falls kind of in the middle. Not this one. It does lack the shimmer of some other instruments. So there's that shimmer that you'll get with a lot of ukuleles. It doesn't have that. But that lack of shimmer actually makes it really a joy to play and listen to, and again, like I said, record. So I'm really positive about the sound of this ukulele. It's different. It is certainly different than any other ukulele that I own. All right, now let's talk about the specifics of the instrument away from my subjective thoughts, but to the objective issues of the instrument. It is a concert scale instrument, although a very long concert at 16 inches. That's like half the way to a tenor. So keep that in mind. 15 frets. A lot of tenors have more than that, especially at this price range, but it's okay. Roughly 13, interesting to the body. So there you go. It does have side position markers, as we talked about, and the body is a traditional double bowed ukulele. The soundboard, resonant Cocobolo. The back and sides, also Cocobolo. The fretboard, Cocobolo. Isn't that a cool fretboard? I really love that. And the bridge is a Cocobolo bridge, which is a tie bar bridge, just so you know. It does have a slight radius for the fretboard. The nut and saddle are made of bone. It does not have a compensated saddle. I don't know what the finish is. I don't know the description of it. I don't know how to describe it to you, but all I can tell you is that this flat finish, it's not satin. It's just wonderful. Wonderful to hold. I really like it. The overall length is 24.5 inches, not counting the strap buttons, and it weighs 1 pound, 8.1 ounces, so the Cocobolo wood is a touch heavier. It does have actual Grover geared tuner, so very good quality there. The action is less than 0.5 millimeters at the first fret and 2.5 millimeters at the 12th fret, so it's perfect for me. That's another great thing about ordering an ukulele like this. It comes really set up well. The nut width is almost 36 millimeters, 35.94 millimeters, just round up. And the space between the strings at the first fret is 9.69 millimeters between each string. That's massive. If you're used to a 34 millimeter being shoved into like an 8 millimeter space, it means a lot by the time you get across the entire neck, which becomes 30.22 millimeters G to A. That's really roomy. And the depth of the neck, I measure from the top of the strings to the back of the neck, is 20.84 millimeters. So again, on the narrow side, makes it very, very comfortable to play. So some final thoughts about the instrument. If you know Cocobolo, you know the looks. If you don't know Cocobolo, you really should. They are just stunning works of art. Not in the context of some of the special Hawaiian ukuleles like Morbeda and so forth, but still just absolutely gorgeous ukuleles. But the catch is, this red wood, swirly wood, doesn't just look good, it really sounds good too. They're made in Nicaragua and unfortunately only offered through that sort of lottery process. So if you want one, you have to kind of plan for it and then be ready to pay for it when you want it. In person, I was massively surprised at how beautiful it was, but also how good it sounded. Really great to play. It's incredibly balanced, it's clear, and it's a sound that I just enjoy playing and listening to. It does have a ton of features, but it's not cheap. It's not an inexpensive ukulele. A brand new one of these in non-factory second is going to cost quite a bit of money. So that $600 price range is going to put you right into the range of some serious competition, such as like Ponos or the Koloha OPOs, and maybe even a few other brands as well. So it's a lot of competition in this space. So even with all that competition in this space, roughly it is a fair value for what you're buying and something that I think you can again pass down for generations to your kids. I very highly recommend this because of this whole package. And the only thing that's really negative is you wish beautiful instruments like this were a little less expensive so that more people could play them. But I'm going to rate this one 5 ukuleles out of 5. I mean, that is how good it is. I've been fortunate to be blessed with some wonderful ukuleles in my life, and this is really, truly it's outstanding. It's a wonderful instrument. I'm going to be looking forward to playing it for years, and I just wish you and everyone the best. So thanks for watching this review, and I hope things are going well for you, and we will catch you next time.